Hi, this is Jessica Pettitt with Conversations That Matter. About 6 months ago, I started doing these mini videos, and I asked my audiences for different topics. And one of the topics they came up with was the idea of best practices. What's interesting about best practices is that how do you know it's really a best practice? Otherwise, maybe it's just a practice that hasn't really failed you yet. Sometimes we do research with other organizations, maybe that we benchmark our own organization with, or we read books, or we do something that consultants like me recommend to do. And what I think is important is that every time I've ever recommended a best practice, I always have to say, this has worked in other places. I don't know if it'll work here, but it's probably worth a shot. I think it's really important to understand that there's a difference between best practices and tradition. Oh, well, we've always done it this way doesn't make it a best practice. And because it's been successful someplace else, doesn't make it a practice that should become a tradition inside your own organization. I encourage you, and maybe a group of people, to sit around and really think about, what do you typically do? How do you typically respond? What processes does your organization use? Do any of them need to be updated? Are any of them being done just because that's how it's always been? Are any of them best practices that other people you benchmark your organization against that they actually have implemented because of you? How have their results gone? By asking outsiders what their best practices are and reflecting on the ones that you think are your best practices, you're actually going to be able to have more conversations that matter. And after all, that's really the point.